Welcome to this week's edition of Coach Prep. Coach Don and I are working on Zoom this week. We got a really fun segment to talk about helping coaches maximize their skill base and their knowledge base and doing everything they can to make sure that they're the best coach they can be. Before we do that, though, let's talk about patreon.com/everythingfastpitch. Thank you very much to Stephanie Parker and Ryan Griffith. They're the two newest patrons that have come on board. We would love to see more people support the podcast. We have had a great group of patrons that have been supporting us for a long time, and we certainly are excited to see new people coming on board. We would love to see that number continue to grow. The patron is the thing that's keeping these podcasts alive. We certainly do appreciate the support, and we need the support to keep things moving forward, and we would love to see more people come on board. So patreon.com/everythingfastpitch. So Don, what I want us to talk about, Stan had a great topic this week. Coaches, as you're heading into different breaks in the year, so whether it's the end of your fall season before the spring season cranks up, you head into the summer season for a school ball coach, and you've got a little bit of time before the school year kicks back in, whenever that window of opportunity is, but to take a good hard look at your skill base, your knowledge base, and pick something and make up your mind in that section of time that you're going to at least double what you know about that specific skill. So let's just talk about hitting, because that's something that you and I spend almost all our time talking about and working on. And so the goal would be, let's say I'm a high school coach who just finished up their spring season, June 15th or whatever it is, and the state championship just wrapped up. And I've got from June 15th until August 15th or whatever when the kids come back to school. Well, in that summer break, I'm going to talk and look at what I think about and what I know about hitting. I'm going to break it down, and then I'm going to challenge myself, make up my mind that I'm going to at least double my competence in that area. So whether it's YouTube channel, whether it's reading, whether it's going to conventions or clinics, whether it's talking to other coaches, whatever it might be, I'm going to make it a personal goal, a personal challenge to make up my mind that I'm going to be that much better of a coach than I used to be.
Sorry, I like that idea. And again, whether it's mental game things, whether it's skills and drills for the kids to share with them, whether it's working opposite field, whether it's pitching mentality that I need to kind of reverse so that our hitters can be more in tune with what the pitchers are thinking. I like all that. And I know for us to try and excel our knowledge of the game is just going to help us share with more kids in a way that's going to be helpful and beneficial to them. So I think that's a great topic, and not going to be easy for each of us to take it upon ourselves. But if it's important for our kids to do well, then maybe it's something that we should be willing to try and do on our own to be better for them in that next season.
The way I think about it is, I don't think any of the coaches listening to Coach Prep are just in it for the money or just doing it because they have to do it. It's not,
Sure.
Who's listening to this podcast is dedicated and motivated and wants to do a good job. There's no way in the world that you're going to convince me that some random coach who's just putting in their time and can't wait for the season to be over with is taking time to listen to this podcast. So I think we're talking to highly motivated people that really want to be good coaches. And so that makes this topic, and Stan's idea is so strong, because to me, I think that there's two ways that we have to think about it. There's two different kinds of coaches, I believe, and I think that it's something that we all fall into, being in one group or the other at different points in time. There's times that I, as a coach, think, you know what, I know just about everything I need to know, and it's up to the players to do better with what I've given them. And then there's other times when it's like, I don't think I know anything. I need to learn so much more because I'm just not
getting through.
Finished product. I'm not there yet. And I've told this story a bunch of times, but I think there's nothing better to put this topic into perspective than the Mike Candrea story. So this is probably 20 years ago now. Arizona had won several national championships. I think Coach Candrea had sold millions of videos about how to hit and hitting drills and hitting strategies and all these different things. Was widely thought of as the Olympic coach. I mean, he's widely thought of as the genius of all things hitting. And at the convention the one year, they always do this mini seminar before the convention actually starts. It's usually a half a day where they bring somebody in to talk about a specific topic. And Candrea came in to talk about hitting. So, we're all sitting there on bated, pins and needles. We couldn't wait for him to start because, so many of us, I mean, I owned every single video he'd ever produced. I'd heard him speak before. I'd listened to him, had been basically trying to incorporate everything that he had been teaching with my team for years. And we had, really successful teams. That was, back in the Parkside era, we had kids that were leading the nation in home runs and stuff like that. So it was working. And he stood in front of the convention and basically said, well, if you came here to hear me talk about the stuff that you have seen in the videos, you're going to be disappointed. Because at that point in his career, he made up his mind to learn so much more and basically didn't scrap everything that we had learned from him, but adjusted and modified and changed and all these different ways you want to think about it so much that it was like, like a whole new thing. It was like, oh my God, the greatest hitting coach on the planet is telling us that how he was so stupid to think he knew everything and how he was so stupid to be stuck in his ways. And he was never going to, allow that to happen again. He made up his mind that he was going to keep learning and basically went into 4 hours talking about the things that they were doing differently and the things that they had changed. And somewhere across that 4 hours, somebody kind of asked, well, what made you do this? You're clearly the most successful hitting coach ever. He said, I talked to somebody who I think knows more than me. And talking to them, it made me realize how dumb some of the stuff I thought was, even though it did work pretty well. And, basically started, changing all kinds of things and then won a couple more national championships with it. So to me, if Mike Candrea at that point, at the height of his coaching career, was willing to look at it and say, you know what, I could do better. I need to learn more. I like different ideas. And again, talking to different coaches, having access to the information that's out there. I think that's really the key. For anybody who's interested, if you go to our fastpitchprep.com website, on our YouTube channel, there's a couple hundred drills and all kinds of different things for hitting, throwing, fielding, team drills, individual hitting drills, bunting, all kinds of stuff. There's an easy access point for you to jump in. If your goal is to learn more about hitting, maybe it is adding some new drills that teach kids to do some things differently. Maybe it is changing some strategies or some philosophies in how you're approaching it. But whatever it is, our challenge for all of you now is every chance you get, every break in your schedule, every opportunity that you have, challenge yourself to make sure that you're going to at least double your knowledge, double your confidence, double your awareness, and see how much more fun you have as a coach.
Tori, I like all of that. Again, sometimes when we're doing this, it does strengthen some of our previous notions and some of our previous activities. It's like that. It confirms it. That's really something that I want to make sure I keep doing. Right. And it might also to create an opportunity to be able to vary or slightly alter or make some extra variety with something that I wasn't aware of before. So yeah, if we're interested in getting better, it's on the coaches as well.
Well, and that's kind of like why we came up with the Square Cuts training disc. It was a way for players and coaches to teach something that I think is very confusing and very difficult for some players to ever grasp, even for some coaches to grasp. If you're always looking for ways to improve, if you're honest with yourself about the fact that no matter how much success you've had as a coach, guess what? There's always somebody who knows more. There's always something more that you can learn and something that could make you a better coach moving forward. And as I said earlier, we've got a lot of highly motivated people that are listening to this podcast. So we're just going to throw a challenge out there. And we'd love to hear some success stories of people that make a commitment to changing something, to learning something, to improving something. And we'll share that with our listeners as we move forward. I know people that have been listening to this podcast for a long time get to hear me say, in a lot of different settings, how I wish I knew then what I know now. But when I think back to what I was teaching and hitting in like the early days, and again, we had tons of success. We were, kids that were hitting 500 and leading the nation in home runs and things like that. And now I wish I would have known then what I know now, because if I could have helped Jackie Aiken with what I know now versus what I knew then, we'd be talking about her in the breath of the very best hitter that's ever played this game. And that's the thing that will always keep me wanting to learn more. So as a old coach who wishes he knew then what he knows now, for all of our coaches out there, make up your mind that you're going to always be ahead of the curve. You're never going to look back at it and say, oh man, I wish I would have, I wish I could have.
get it all up front. Yep.
Sounds good.
Awesome.
All right. So that's going to wrap up this edition of Coach Prep. Please make sure you become a patron. Go to patreon.com/everythingfastpitch. And again, thank you very much to Stephanie Parker and Ryan Griffith for coming on board. Make sure you go to the fastpitchprep.com website. You can order your Square Cuts training discs there. You also have access to the YouTube channel and the blog post. There's tons and tons of information available to you on our website, and we would love for you to take advantage of that. For Coach Don McKinley and our producer, Santa Lewis, this is Coach Torrey saying thanks for listening. We'll talk to you again next week.